Welcome to the Baseball Insiders. It's a beautiful Monday. Yes, actually everywhere, even in New York, it's a beautiful Monday. Our Fansided MLB Insider Robert Murray and I share a stream today, as always, but we're also sharing a climate for now, and it feels damn good. It feels like the baseball season is heating up. It feels like Scottsdale, Arizona out here in New York, man. So I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm wonderful. It is nice and toasty here, as you would expect with Scottsdale. I went to the gym this morning and I got plenty of compliments in my tan. So that's always a good thing. Was very happy about that. But even more excited to be here with you, my friend. And we got news to talk about. So that's even more exciting.
We do. We are going to be breaking down the league's division so far, the races in terms of yearbook superlatives, who's most likely to succeed and who's just most likely to suck. But first, we are going to break down a couple of extensions that went down over the weekend and into today. Actual baseball news. It's been a while. Stay into voice. But that's why you come to the Baseball Insiders, which streams live Mondays and Thursdays, 3:30 Eastern. You already know. Hopefully, you're already here. But if you don't, and you're here for the first time, welcome. Joe DiMaggio always said that he wanted to make sure that he was always giving his best so the people who are watching him for the first time got the best version of himself. I agree. And I also think that the Baseball Insiders does that. So if you're here and enjoying, please hit the subscribe button, like this video. And if you're an audio first person, we're also on all podcast platforms. We hope you subscribe there as well. The San Francisco Giants became the first team to subscribe long-term to a pitching option at the end of last week when they gave Logan Webb, my 2023 National League Cy Young Award winner. Don't check the stats because he's still got a ways to go. But I believe in Logan Webb. I know you do too. And the Giants ended up getting him long-term, 5 years and $90 million.
Yeah, that was the news that I was teasing last week when I said I had one in the hopper and thought I was going to be the one to break it, but ultimately the Giants scooped me on it. That's okay, but I do have insight into these negotiations, so at least I have that going for me. But the Giants and Logan Webb have been talking about an extension early in spring training. They had talked about it even before that, but ultimately were not able to come to terms. But there was a general sense that the agreement, when it was going to be reached, was going to be 5 years. Their offer at one point in past negotiations was for 5 years for quite a bit less than $90 million. But there was always a sense that if a deal was going to get done, that it was going to be around $100 million. And I thought the deadline was going to be for opening day. Negotiations really, it started, I think it was closer. It was in the off season, like right around the start of spring training. And then there was not anything even leading up to opening day. And the Giants, they started negotiations shortly before the season started, or right during when the season started. And Webb was open to it. He's made it very clear, both privately and publicly, that he wanted to be in San Francisco. Giants increased their offer and ultimately agreed to a massive 5 year for $90 million extension. It's a big move for the Giants. Locks up their right-handed ace for 5 years at a pretty reasonable price, especially if he's as good as they think he's going to be. Gives them some long-term security. And it also, Kyle Harrison is going to debut at some point during this season. Having Webb and Harrison at the same time is their best duo since when they had Bumgarner, Lincecum, and Matt Cain. Like, that is a strong duo, and it's going to debut at some point this season. But locking up Webb was their number one priority, and here we are today with a deal done for 5 years for $90 million.
It sort of signals to me the start of this new era, the Farhan Zaidi imprint in San Francisco. When he was first getting his feet wet in there, we saw a lot of, all right, we're going to sign reclamation project pitchers. We're going to give them 1 year deals. They're going to, 1 year, 8 to 10 mil. Some will hit, some won't. The ones that hit come back. The ones that don't, we say goodbye to. And you end up with this, obviously incredibly successful 2021 team, but Webb breaks out, DeSclafani, Cobb, Alex Woods there. It's all these guys where they're like, all right, you can fill a rotation for a while. But now that Webb is their ace, it's been stamped, it's been signed by both parties, and Harrison is on the horizon. suddenly you have a homegrown 1 and 2 atop that rotation instead of filling in these gaps with endless plug and plays year after year.
No, exactly. And that's something that was really important to them. They have that long-term security now. And he's their first player who's signed through like 2026 or 2027. That's on the major league roster right now. Like they've got some long-term flexibility with the payroll. Webb is their start. They wish that either Carlos Correa or Aaron Judge were on that payroll as well, but didn't work out that way. But the Giants have always had a lot of success building with pitching and defense, and they locked up their best pitcher. And I think that's just a really shrewd move by that front office, and something that I think Farhan Zaidi, despite Logan Webb's slow start, is going to be thankful that he did in the long haul.
Agreed. I remain a big Logan Webb fan. I'm not going to let the 3 starts to start the year. And the first one at Yankee Stadium, he looked great. The strikeout numbers were insane. He just gave up a couple of home runs. Who hasn't done that? I'm a big believer in Logan Webb, and I know you're a huge believer in Harrison. And so I can't wait to sort of see that come to fruition so that we all get to see what you already know. And speaking of deals, we were only a couple days away or a couple days past talking about how, Luis Arraez, Pablo Lopez, who wins this trade. Lopez is probably the best a Twins pitcher has looked in quite a while. They got him to unlock what a lot of people knew he could unlock. It happened quickly. His fastball ticked up, but meanwhile, you've got Arraez hitting for the cycle in Miami, doing something no Marlins offensive player had ever done to that point. So we're calling it a win-win already. We're trying to assess it, but the one thing that could have made it an L for Minnesota was not taking care of Lopez long-term. And lo and behold, after he dominates at Yankee Stadium on Sunday, they announced Craig Mish, I believe, had it first, still plugged in to the former
Craig
Marlins,
Mish is
Pablo
the man.
Lopez. It's insane. He's still tracking these guys after they leave Miami. He's like, all right, great. Well, I'm gonna break your news too. Like, I don't know how he does.
Man's got relationships all over the place with in and around that team, and Craig is a friend of the program. And I woke up this morning and saw he broke the news, and I sent him the king emoji or whatever, the king crown emoji.
Yeah, the crown.
The crown emoji. Yeah, absolute G. Craig Mish is.
Yeah, the crown is not just LeBron James in this year's playoffs, especially since he's getting surpassed by Austin Reeves. It's also Craig Mish, who got this done. The Twins got it done too. 4 years, $73.5 million. And again, fewer pitchers than ever hit free agency these days. You get your hands on one in a trade. You'd be wise to attempt to lock that person up long-term too. The Mariners and Luis Castillo. We're seeing a lot of pitcher acquired, pitcher signed long-term. We've given the Twins front office a lot of love all offseason long. Time to do it again. I think this is another smart move. And I'd love to know what you know about how this deal went down.
Yeah, this is one that did not necessarily come as a surprise. I guess maybe it's a little bit earlier than I expected. But after the Twins traded Luis Arraez for Pablo Lopez this offseason, it was very clear just how much that front office valued him as a player, and extending him because he had 1 year of arbitration left. He would have been a free agent after the 2024 season. I think that was a priority for them, and I can't blame them, especially at this price. And the numbers, what was it, 4 years for 74?
Yeah, I saw 73.5. So
73.5. So figure this is how we can look at the deal: is $13.5 million for his last arbitration year, and then $20 million per season for 3 free agent years is basically what this deal comes down to. I don't know if that's the exact structure, but we'll just pretend that it is. It's actually a little bit lighter than I expected. I think 25 million in that kind of ballpark would have been a very solid number. I thought he deserved it for sure, especially with how he started the season and like the kind of potential that he showed with the Marlins. So I think the Twins got a really good deal here, pretty team friendly. But that being said, I will never fault a player for taking an early deal. Pitcher injuries are very common. You never know what can happen. So as I said, I can't blame them, but I think the Twins did really well with this deal. and it continues to give them some flexibility with the payroll going forward as well. It's I think that was a very strong move by that front office, and it seems like we continue to sing their praises on this program here. Big Twins front office fans over here.
Definitely. I mean, agreed on Lopez taking the money while the momentum was hot too. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to call availability his best ability. Last year, he got 32 starts up and was pretty great, and it was sort of the breakout year everyone had been waiting for. But Lopez had never really put up a full season before that. 21 starts in 2019, 11 in the shortened 2020, if you want to give him credit for that, and then 20 in 2021. So the fastball velocity finally ticking up. People are talking, like, people have long talked about Lopez as a candidate to, reshape his sweeper. Everybody loves to say sweeper these days, so I'm going to get in on the trend and say he has a great sweeper. But he reshapes that breaker, adds a couple of ticks to the fastball. People have been saying it's possible, but now we've got 4 starts of evidence. And I don't blame him at all for saying, I've struggled to stay on the field. Probably somewhere in the back of his mind, he's saying, I've struggled to stay on the field. People have always talked about my potential, and now I'm delivering on it. So I'm not going to say no to $73.5 million.
No, I can't blame him at all. That's life-changing money. And it's still $20 million. Basically, it's, as I said before, this is basically $20 million a season for his free agent years. That's a strong deal. Can't fault him at all. Just thought he could have gotten a little bit more, but at the end of the day, he's happy in Minnesota. The Twins are happy with him. And this is further evidence that Luis Ariz for Pablo Lopez trade was a win-win for both sides. And I'll use a term that I used in the last episode because it's every baseball executive's favorite term. It's a good baseball trade. That's exactly what it was. And yeah, win-win.
100%. We'll continue to grade that a dub for both sides. Now let's start going around the league just a little bit. In terms of the play on the field so far, I'm going to be doling out some superlatives to the different divisions as a way to wrap it up quickly and concisely. And I want to start with the toughest division in baseball, which is not even a question at this point. It's the AL East for me. It's even tougher than I expected. I knew the Rays pitching staff would be good. Didn't know we'd be going on 3 weeks of talking about the Rays accomplishing and changing history. The Yanks and Blue Jays are right where I think many expected them to be, and there's no bad team in this division yet. So spoiler alert, I don't think we're split on this one. I think we both award the AL East this early trophy.
Yeah, we are definitely not split on this. I mean, you look at the Rays, 14-2. Blue Jays and the Yankees are 10-6. Orioles are 9-7, and the Red Sox are 8-8. All these teams are 500 and above, Adam, and we can't say that about any other division in baseball. I think that's the clear answer. I don't know if the division right now is like how it's stacked up. I don't know if that's how it's going to be at the end of the year. I still think the Yankees are a pretty prominent threat here. But man, what a good division. And also, if there's any team that's going to regress off of this current pace, it's got to be the Red Sox, I would think. But hey, they're 8-8. They're defying the odds. And we're making obviously a burner happy, but talking about the Rays for 3 consecutive weeks. So good start to the program for sure.
Absolutely. And if the Red Sox, I'm convinced they could win this division if they wore the yellow jerseys every game. I think they're like 28-3 all time in the yellow jerseys or something like that. That's obviously it's a little bit off, but I actually think they were 11-0 at a point or something. It's honestly the winning percentage is astronomical. So not a shocker that they go into the weekend and play well against the Angels in the yellow jerseys. And they also won a game with 2 catchers interferences in the bottom of the 8th inning on Saturday. If you really want me to roll my eyes out of my head, which I'm sure everybody was waiting for that. They've now won a game on a dropped final out and 2 catchers interferences in a game-winning rally on Saturday. And today, Shohei Ohtani staked to a 5-1 lead. That's pretty exciting. Oh, sadly, there's a monsoon in the middle of the game, and he only throws 2 innings. So congrats to the Boston Red Sox, who are hanging out by the skin of their teeth. And obviously, burner, they can hit. Not sure if they can pitch yet, but this weekend, with all the yellow jerseys going on, they certainly can pitch. What about the division that's way more fun than you thought it would be? What division would you award that?
I will give a little sneak peek. We differ on this one. So for me, it's the NL Central. That or not? Well, wait, hang on.
Spoiling me.
Wait, hang on. Oh, I just said NL Central. I meant AL West.
Yeah.
My bad. Yeah, I didn't want to throw Anna for a loop. I said NL Central because I was thinking about the Cardinals for a second. I was like, but it's the AL West. You have the Rangers, who have invested a lot of different money in this team, hired a new manager, Bruce Bochy. They look every bit of legit. Like, they look like a very real team, and I'm buying stock in the Rangers as we speak. Not actually, but you know what I mean. The Mariners also are just loaded with talent. You can never rule them out. The Angels have Ohtani and Trout. I mean, they're still hovering around 500, but still, it's like, I don't know exactly what their ceiling is, but they got plenty of potential there. The Astros are somehow in fourth place. Did not have that on my bingo card entering week 3 of the baseball season, but here we are. It's a fascinating division. I think that one's going to end up doing like a big loop-de-loop where the Astros are eventually on top, and then the Rangers and the Mariners fight it off for second place. But that's and obviously a burner. I am actually not part owner of the Rangers, but I do wish I had that money. That would be kind of sick. Maybe, I don't know, maybe in my next contract I can try to get that kind of money.
Yeah. Never rule it out. Believe in your dreams. I feel like I believe in the Rangers too. You said the Rangers look legit. I think the Rangers look legit on the field. I think they look legit everywhere except for their City Connect jerseys, which look not legit. Those are crazy bad.
See, I don't. Boy, let me do my little investigative journalism before I comment on this, because I can't remember their jerseys.
They dropped today. They feature like a TR on the chest. They're like cream, black socks. The hat is black, and they also invented a mythical creature. It's like a combination. They're calling it a peagle. It's like a panther and an eagle because it's two different minor league mascots from the region from the 60s. And folks, I don't think you can be inventing animals for your City Connect jerseys. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion.
Wow, these are, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan either. These are, yeah, I don't know. Boy, that is very odd. Yikes. That's, boy. Okay, we're very aligned on that one, Adam. I am not a fan of that one bit.
Look, it is what it is. You can experiment. But one of my favorite things about baseball jerseys is how big the lettering can be. You get the team name or the city all the way across the front. When you just, I mean, I'm a Yankee fan, so this kind of rings hollow. But when you just squeeze that logo into the tiny corner, it can be less appealing than a jersey with the big city pride. I like the Yankees road jerseys, and I don't like these.
You don't like what? Leaves?
No, I do not like the Texas Rangers current jerseys.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, we're totally in agreement on that one. I'll tell you, like the Yankees ones, those are classics. Big fan, but these Rangers City Connects, woof, F.
Big stinkers. That's an F. My division here, I'm going to give it to the NL Central in a bit of an upset because I know what you're saying with the West. I think everybody wants to say the NL East, but the Brewers, I'm rocking with the freshmen. I liked what the Cubs did. I like that they went into the Dodger Stadium over the weekend and held them down. Got a little help from the umpires in the 9th inning yesterday. It's all good. It's just one game. The Pittsburgh Pirates are every bit as scrappy as any fun young team in baseball. They shook off the O'Neal Cruz injury. We've given them plenty of credit for their vibes. They have a -5 run differential right now, but plus, I think, 30 on the vibe differential. And then the Cardinals, you run into them in the wrong series. You get Hunter Green, you get Nick Lodolo, you get Ashcraft in there. That is not a walkover. The Phillies learned that again over the weekend. And our division champion Cardinals are in 4th place. So there is maybe more, again, I don't think, ask me again in 2 weeks. I don't think I'm saying I don't think the NL Central is going to be a dogfight all year, but I'm proud of the middling teams in the NL Central for putting young talent in the spotlight. Johnny in the comments wants the Cubs call up Matt Mervis and get rid of Eric Hosmer. He has learned the lesson everybody else learned longer, that Eric Hosmer, maybe not a big league starter at this point in time. But except for Mervis, most of the young players in that division are getting chances and they are shining.
No, they absolutely are. And It's an exciting division in terms of the young talent that they have. I will say Matt Mervis, when he eventually debuts, talk about a fast rising prospect, Adam. He's somebody the Cubs are obviously very high on. He's somebody that skyrocketed up the top 100 rankings. The Cubs are really optimistic about what they have there. And the Hosmer signing, like, obviously we don't know exactly if he's still a big league starter at this point, but the Cubs having Hosmer, it basically allowed them to be patient with Mervis. They did not necessarily have to have him up at the opening day roster. I know there was a bunch of people who thought that he should be on the opening day roster, but some extra reps in AAA never hurts. But when he debuts, that is going to be a very exciting day for the Cubs because he's got every bit of the potential to be a stud. But going with this division real quick, I know the Cardinals don't look like the team that like we expected, but I eventually think they will bounce back. I think they're still the favorite in my eyes to win that division. But the competition is a little bit more fierce than I expected. I mean, you got the Brewers who look very good, although the Brandon Woodruff injury is a little concerning. Pirates, as you said, lead the league in vibes. What a freaking fun team. Hey, I've said either on this podcast or in a Fansided article that the Pirates have a shot to be a playoff team in 2023. I got laughed at. I'm like, I don't want to do an early victory lap, but I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Yeah, you can do a seated early victory lap here, I think. Like, you don't literally have to run around the apartment, but I think you can sit here and look in the camera and say, it's a nice little early season W for you.
Yeah, it is an early W. And I mean, there's not many W's when it comes to my takes. So I got to take them whenever I can get.
Yeah, I mean, this dumbass picked the Cardinals to win the division. I mean, this dumbass said that I couldn't figure out another team that could crack my AL playoff field. Meanwhile, a team that I left out of the AL playoff field is 14-2. So early season referendum on my picks for damn sure. I had the Cardinals as the most likely 4th or 5th place team to win a division. That said, the Astros fell into 4th place yesterday as they lost on Sunday Night Baseball. They sort of automatically become that team now.
Oh, they absolutely do. Like the Astros got to. I mean, it feels like the obvious team that comes from 4th to 1st, right? I mean, that's them and the Cardinals at this point.
But it's pretty fun. Pretty fun to watch the Texas Rangers go into Houston last night. You knew that they intended to talk about Framber Valdez all game. That was the you look at the production notes. They were like, we're going into Houston. We'll do Framber chat. We'll bring guests into the K-Rod cast. They could talk about the Astros dynasty. And then Marcus Semien, grand slam upends that team on the road. Yeah.
No, exactly. Because they were up 6-0 early on into that game. It was basically like
I think it was 0-0 late, and then they put up 6 in that inning. I think
oh yeah, 6-9. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then that's Semien grand slam. Boy, I'll tell you, I love it. That's sneaky Texas Rangers. It's gotta love it.
Yeah, and obviously, Burner, not only are they still doing the A-Rod stuff, but they had like 1 million guests yesterday. The PR release was like, "What? Look at these guests joining them on the K-Rod cast." It was like 9 dudes. I did not watch, but good for Alex and Michael finally getting a break. In terms of the division with the most bounce back potential, I think you and I are agreed on this one as well.
Yeah.
Ooh, well, I'll start us off because I know I speak for you here when it's the NL East. We all wanted to say that the NL East was sort of the best division in baseball entering the season because you had the high dollar Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies are coming off a World Series berth. The Braves I believed in, and I think a lot of people said, well, those are 3 playoff teams. But so far the Phillies without Hoskins and Harper 6-10, kind of meh. The Miami Marlins hanging at 500, but their negative 26 run differential will not inspire anybody. And the Mets at 10-6. Yeah, but that includes a sweep of the Oakland A's over the weekend. I don't think most Mets fans would say we are extremely confident in our team right now. Scherzer getting pushed back. Didn't start over the weekend, starting against the Dodgers, supposedly. Verlander still hurt. Quintana hurt long-term. Brett Baty, and this is a good, we can transition into the Baty talk. He's coming up. That might change the Mets' fortunes. That might lead to the bounce back we're all looking for out of the NL East, but so far, relatively uninspiring.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting start to the season for that division. Like the Braves are as good as advertised. They're 12-4. They look like a juggernaut once again. And also that Sean Murphy trade, the early returns on that one are extremely good. The fact that the Braves have gotten Matt Olson, who's a strong contributor for them, and also Sean Murphy, who's their long-term catcher, in consecutive off seasons from the A's. That's just the latest example of the great work that Alex Anthopoulos has done in Atlanta. He's built a very strong roster, and they're going to benefit for it in the long haul. They're here to stay. You look at the Mets; they it's their team is interesting. We're going to get into it in a little bit with Brett Baty and that call up there, but they're still 10-6, and they still have all the potential in the world, and they have a shot to be a lot better. So that team scares me. If I was another NL East team or just a team in the NL in general, the Phillies are just like really surprising. 6-10, Adam. Without, I mean, obviously, as you said, without Bryce Harper and Rhys Hoskins, they're going to bounce back. I feel confident about that, but that the rest of that division makes me a little bit nervous about that pick for them to win the division. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I just don't know necessarily how they're going to get there, and it looks, at least early on, like it could be in the form of a wild card team. But that being said, we still got like 140 games left, so anything can happen there. But this Brett Baty thing, that's something I want to get on, like talk about for sure.
Yeah, let's move on to Baty now, because it's definitely a situation where I think in the Mets' best laid plans, they probably didn't call up their number 2 prospect in mid-April after demoting him to the minors. They probably didn't have Alvarez on this roster behind the plate either. I mean, there's a reason all those guys started in the minors. They had Eduardo Escobar playing third primarily. Baty goes to AAA. He hits the cover off the ball. I mean, 400 with 5 homers, 2 doubles. 1386 OPS in 9 games. You can't keep this guy down. Give Escobar credit for saying all of the right things. Basically said, like, I've been playing the position, and now it's, if anyone else comes and takes it, then they will have earned it and whatnot. It was theoretically tough to find a spot for him on this roster, but at this point, you have to, and they did.
And they absolutely did. And it something that the Mets are smart to have done early on this season. Like, I know there's people who are even wanting it to happen earlier in the season, but with the way that Baty was performing in the minors, like, they had to make a move. Ultimately, they did. And it brings me back to the offseason here when the Mets had an agreement in place with Carlos Correa, pending a physical, of course, that ultimately did not happen. But let's say that the Correa signing did happen. I have it on very good authority that Escobar would very likely have been traded. I don't know necessarily the teams that were in. I do think the Marlins and like the Twins could have made some sense there. Ultimately, a deal did not happen, of course, because Correa failed the physical. But it's one of the many what ifs of this past offseason. But Escobar, like with a little surprise here, handled this like a true pro. I wonder what his future looks like, whether he could be a trade candidate, whether he could be a DFA candidate. I don't know about that, but like some team is going to value his veteran experience, and like he figures to be better than he is now, at least early on in the season. So I'd imagine that there would be some teams that would be interested in him, but I just don't know if the Mets are at that point quite yet.
As of now, he has not been DFA'd. Obviously a burner, but yeah, I mean, Bert, you're right. It's hard to envision a spot for Escobar on this team long term, and if he was that close to being dangled as trade bait and hasn't performed up to par so far during the regular season, then it would stand to reason that maybe the Mets would rather release a veteran like that into the wild instead of cut bait on a young talent. There was a lot of talk of Votto being demoted out of the Mets bullpen. They're going to have to make that corresponding move later today, but they have already very much announced that Baty is coming up. So no getting out of this one now. Sorry, New York Mets. On to the other side, of the other team in New York, one team's offense getting theoretically stronger, one team probably getting weaker, it would seem. Giancarlo Stanton, grade 2 hamstring strain for the New York Yankees. The annual grade 2 hamstring strain for Giancarlo Stanton. They're lucky it came early in the season. It opens up DH reps for Franchy Cordero when Harrison Bader comes back. That's a pretty big one. We were worried about maybe Franchy, if he hits a cold snap, gets DFA'd. Now probably a longer leash. When Donaldson comes back, Oswald Peraza probably goes back down. When Bader comes back, Willie Calhoun or a bullpen piece can go back down. Franchy's job is saved. That said, Giancarlo Stanton going down for 2 months, 4 to 6 weeks at the very least, is not what you want.
No, that's not what you want at all. And also, before we get into that, you guys saw me look at my phone earlier. I thought we may have news. I just got it denied, so we don't have any news to report on the show. But that would have been a lot of fun. So I apologize for the tease there, but obviously losing Stanton for a month or two is not what you want at all. To steal Adam's line there, it's basically been the story of his career. It's been a lot of different injuries that he's dealt with. Hamstrings are really tricky, and that's something that the Yankees are going to want to use extreme caution on, because they don't want to have him suffer a setback and have him miss even more time. They're lucky that they have an in-house option, I guess, in Franchy Cordero. The Harrison Bader return. It's not a good position that the Yankees are in with losing Stanton, especially with the amount of money that they have invested there. But that being said, I'm not worried too much quite yet. They still have Aaron Judge. They have plenty of talent throughout that roster, but I wonder what Stanton's career could have been had he stayed healthy throughout this entire thing, because he had a shot to be a generational player with how physically gifted that he is, and he's just super talented. So it's rather unfortunate in that regard.
And nobody handles it like more of a pro than Stanton. I was just talking about this. He has every right to get down on himself with these repeated soft tissue injuries. He's under the bright lights in New York. He is one of the Yankees' premier superstars. He's on all the marketing materials. And yet, when something like this happens again, and he has to respond to the dumbest questions like, hey, why aren't you trying to keep your legs healthy? What's wrong with your muscles? Everybody's asking the most repetitive questions. He doesn't bat an eye. He's as bummed out as the fan base is. He had every right to sort of become as petulant as Aaron Hicks, and he definitely has not done that. So I will always give him credit for the way he handles these bad breaks.
Me too. And that's something Hicks has voiced his displeasure on numerous occasions. Stan has always been accountable. And I always, just like you, I always respect when a player does that, because it's refreshing, and the fan base can respect that. They're always, for the most part, going to rally behind that player. Because Stanton is giving it his all. He wants to be out in the field. He's never made excuses. That's the kind of guy you root for. It's just unfortunate what's happened with him throughout his career, because he's I know people around Stanton who just rave about him as a person, and I root for players like that, and it's just unfortunate.
100%. And the Yankees will take their time with this one, because they know, as well as the player does, as well as you do, that sometimes these take a while and they take longer when it's Giancarlo Stanton's body. And while we're still in Yankee Land corner for 1 second, Matt Chapman, probably the hottest hitter in baseball. John Heyman had the Mets and Yankees competing for his services this offseason. Over the weekend, I just caught my eye. He had the Dodgers in there. He had the Blue Jays, making a stand and re-signing their man. Do you have any sort of early gauge on the Matt Chapman market? Obviously, we've talked about him having the career year of all career years, walk year so far. It was nice to see the Yankees and Mets both involved in that mix. And we just talked about it. The Mets certainly not settled at third base either.
No, they aren't. And it's very much open for the Mets. And it's not a surprise to see either of those two teams connected to Chapman. I think both make a lot of sense. But that being said, if he continues the year that he's having, he's hitting over 400 right now. He's having the best year of his career. If he maintains it, hitting 400 is going to be tough. But if he continues to hit at a really high level, he's going to be a very highly sought after free agent, especially in this hitting class for free agents. We've seen a lot of the free agent hitters for next offseason already signed. And basically the top two options at this point are Shohei Ohtani and Matt Chapman. Chapman could end up getting a very hefty contract, and it just so happens that the two big New York teams have been connected to him. That's just only going to further bolster his market, bolster his value. A lot of season left, but he's somebody who could be a very, very, very rich man before too long.
The dominoes are all falling for him for sure. And somebody who silently fist pumped when Manny Machado took himself off the market too. The Mets and Manny Machado. Ooh, even the Yankees and Manny Machado. Nope, neither one of them. He stays a Padre. Matt Chapman goes out there and hits 420 with power and pristine defense, and now gets to set his own market. Before we go, just want to show some love to Joey Votto, who is every baseball fan's favorite player. It's hard to dislike Joey Votto. Always candid, has spent some time in the broadcast booth the last couple of years, making guest appearances as his career has wound down. I think he definitely has a future in that industry if he feels like participating in it. But it sort of feels like that end is now coming. He halted his rehab assignment this week. He took himself out of the mix, saying, quote, "My swing is not there." And for one of the great swing artists of this generation and a very particular type of hitter, if the swing is not there, he's not going to put himself out there. And it makes you worried that this might be the end of the road. I got to ask if you think this is really the end for Votto, and whether you believe at the end of all this, it's going to be a really interesting case. Is this guy a Hall of Famer for you?
I want to say yes to that question so badly. I just don't know. I don't think so right now. It's nothing against Joey Votto. I think he's had a wonderful career. He's been one of the best Reds players in recent memory. And I just don't know. But that being said, I do wonder if my answer for that would have been a little bit different had he been with a different team. So he could have been let's put him in a bigger market. I think he would have been a lot more appreciated than he already was. And that being said, he was very appreciated. But I think I do wonder what his career would look like if he was, say, I don't know, on the Yankees, or say on the Cardinals or something like that. I think maybe, but I just don't think so. What about you?
The power patience combo. I always felt like you're 100% right. Put him in the Yankees, make him Mark Teixeira's successor, put him on the Red Sox. These rich Moneyball teams with Joey Votto, some slamming dingers out and getting on base at a 440 clip. That felt like his destiny. It's kind of surprising he didn't have a late career pivot there. After the age of 34, 2 years ago in 2021, he hit 36 bombs out of nowhere, 938 OPS. But the couple of years before that, his age 34 season, he still gets on base at a high clip, but only hits 12 homers. 2019, below average OPS plus, 107 in the shortened 2020. And then last year, he really struggles and just an 87 OPS plus for Votto, and now sort of on the verge. But if he retires now, he retires with a career 145 OPS plus. Certainly a favorite of sports writers, which I think helps him. I don't know. I could foresee him being the next Edgar Martinez, Tim Raines, the case that somebody really takes on and makes the centerpiece of their Hall of Fame argument. It's gonna be a while. He's not getting in before Mike Messina territory. It's gonna be 6-7 years on the ballot. It was 7 years for Jeff Bagwell, by the way, who I feel like people think that's a shoe-in Hall of Famer. It took him a long time. So I don't expect Votto to get in before his 9th or 10th try, but I do think he gets in.
I hope you're right, because he's a favorite of sports writers. He's a favorite of fans. He's a favorite of teammates. One of my favorite things as even a baseball fan is reading the different stories that have been written about Votto, because he's just a fascinating person. And I highly recommend, if you want good Joey Votto content, go read Trent Rosecrans at The Athletic. He has written some of the most definitive pieces on Joey Votto throughout his career. He knows Votto better than any writer. I think that's a very safe thing to say. And it's made me appreciate Joey Votto. And he's somebody I want to meet, and just because I want I want to get to see what he's like in person. I think he would just be a fascinating kind of cool deal. But I feel like I already kind of know him through Trent's stories. So I sure as heck hope he does make it. I just don't know. But as you said, and this is a very good point, the fact that he's a favorite of sports writers, that could definitely help his case.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. And I think Votto is as inoffensive as it gets, especially with the personality stuff. Like the same people who were angry that Scott Rowland got in, I don't think would be as angry if Votto got in, because he had more memorable moments over the course of his long and extremely effective career. I mean, I agree with you. Put him on the Red Sox or Yankees, it's almost no question. But with the Reds, we're going to have to wait quite a while.
Yeah, I agree, which is unfortunate. But man, that would have been fun seeing prime Joey Votto and his goofiness and his great play on one of those two teams would have been freaking sick. That would have been really cool.
And more Canadians in the hall when we get a chance. Larry Walker, you elect a Canadian, they show up in a SpongeBob SquarePants jacket like Larry Walker. So I think if you elect Joey Votto, he'll do something equally exciting. It's time to sign off. But it wouldn't be an episode of the Baseball Insiders without giving everybody another Stone Garrett update. He's still doing it. He's hitting .563. Your thoughts on Stone Garrett?
The best under the radar free agent signing of the offseason. Like, that was an afterthought for everybody, and he's an absolute stud. Shout out to Stone Garrett. We're the Baseball Insiders is a Stone Garrett podcast.
Stone Garrett with a casual 1549 OPS so far this year. So for those of you who gave the Stone Garrett signing a D-, we're coming for you. That's an even worse pick than my AL East pick of saying the Rays were going to finish third and out of the postseason picture. Whoops. Until next time. Yeah.
Hey, also, I want to mention one thing. Shout out to Jalen Hurts getting an extension with the Eagles. 5 years, $255 million. It wouldn't be a Baseball Insiders podcast if I didn't mention the birds. Unbelievable. I'll tell you, I was getting ready to go to the gym this morning. I had no juju in me whatsoever. I took 5 sips of this monster. I was ready to go. Then I saw the Hurts news, and I was bouncing off the walls, man. And I had people at the gym asking me, Robert, I've never seen you this energized or just this hyper. What the heck is going on? I was like, dude, the Eagles extended Jalen Hurts. The boys are buzzing. And man, oh man, what a time to be alive, baby.
What a stereotypical Baseball Insiders. We started with 2 actually pieces of big extension news in the MLB world. And by the end of it, we cycled through roasting each other over bad playoff picks, a long discussion on Joey Votto's Hall of Fame chances, which I think we'll be able to have for the next 15 years because, again, it'll be a while. So we'll reignite that conversation. And then one final Stone Garrett and Jalen Hurts update. If you think you're going to escape a week of the Baseball Insiders without a Go Birds-centric update, you got another thing coming. And I can't believe I didn't start the podcast with this. I feel like an idiot. I feel like it took you mentioning the Jalen Hurts extension to remind me. I went to a wedding on Saturday, sitting next to somebody who I don't know. It's a college buddy, and so we're with his high school friend and that guy's his girlfriend. Start talking about where we're from, etc. She's given South Jersey neighborhoods, talking about the Eagles. She's an Eagles cheerleader.
My guy. Wow, unbelievable. That's a sign that they're going to win the Super Bowl next year. That's not what that means at all, but no. How was it? How was it a good time at least?
Fantastic wedding. Shout out. She couldn't have been nicer. Gave us great stories about the team. She went to the Super Bowl. They treat their cheerleading and dance team right. It was unbelievable. So it was amazing. Wow. Shout out to the Eagles for this podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, go Birds. It's been a while since I said that. I'm finally over the Super Bowl loss. So I'm optimistic about the draft. I'll have draft takes for a later podcast, but oh man, I need it I need air to breathe, baby.
Only a couple weeks we will reserve the full starting block of the podcast for Eagles and Giants draft recap. I can't wait. We'll figure it out. Everybody can tune in whenever you want. We'll give you a warning. We'll say, hey, the start of this podcast, it's going to be the NFL draft. And then you can come by whenever you'd like to.
Darn right, baby. It's going to be good. As long as Jalen Carter's an Eagle, I'll be a happy man. So fingers crossed at least. But I can't wait for that episode.
It's possible. He's fallen down draft boards right into your clutches as we speak. But until next time, you can find us on the Baseball Insiders, and we are the Baseball Insiders even when we're talking about football. We're out here Mondays and Thursdays, 3:30 Eastern time, taking you through breaking news. And again, Stone Garrett conversations and Jalen Hurts extension talks. We'll bring it all to you. That's why hopefully you come to the feed. Hopefully you keep coming back. But if it's your first time, hit that subscribe button. You'll get alerted. You'll be the first one to know when we're going live. But again, it's Mondays and Thursdays at 3:30. You can set your watch to it Eastern. And then on all audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you use, all feeders, it should be there in the aftermath of the live show. Robert Murray, can't do the show without you. Certainly would be talking less Eagles without you. But you bring the details to my wild speculation, and I couldn't do the show without you.
Yeah, the feeling is mutual, my friend. Pleasure as always. Appreciate you tolerating my Birds talk. Go Birds, by the way. I don't know if I've said that in the last 2 minutes, but that's right, baby. We need to get that gift up. That would be wonderful. But we appreciate everybody tuning in. This is not possible without all of you. We appreciate it more than you know. And just because you guys are so good to us, we'll just do this again on Thursday.
How about that? Yeah, you guys were just nice enough to us that we're going to come back on Thursday. We're going to run it back. I think I feel confident in that decision. We're getting towards the season begins, and all of a sudden it's May, June, then it's the All-Star break, then it's a trade deadline, and you're going to want to be here for all of that good stuff. So until next time, which is Thursday, because you guys were so good, I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Robert Murray. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.